Men for Christ show. We can't wait to see you, and I hope you couldn't wait to see us. Come along, join us. And Men for Christ don't die, we multiply. We welcome our third co-host, no other person than Mark Brodus. Yes, sir. Yes,
hey.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Season number 3 is underway.
Yes, we're back.
We're back. Well, welcome everybody to the Bad Men for Christ show. And we are back live and in effect. We are so grateful to have you as always. It's been a long time. We've had a really good hiatus, somewhere like 6 months, a little bit too much. But we're so glad to be back. We're just having some shows to get us back acclimated to this every week thing. And so we're so glad we'll have a premiere show soon, and Bishop Paul Brown will be there. But I am one of your co-hosts, Rupert Johnson. My other co-host, Bishop Paul Brown, is out. But we have our new member of our team. He's not going to be just coming in every now and then. He is joining us as one of the Bad Men for Christ. He's already got a shirt on, so he's got the patch on. No other person than Mark Brodus. Mark, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
Hey, man, it's always good to be on the show, and we're so grateful for another season. We're just excited. Too bad Bishop Paul Brown's not here because, we can just mess with him tonight, but we got to wait till next time, That man always finds a reason why not to be here, but we love him.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I think we're not gonna see him as much as we did in the past. I think he's trying to transition his way out of it because every week, he's older, so he can't really take on all this. He's older, so we got to remember that he's older.
Right.
I don't even know if he's watching, but if you're watching, Bishop, whatever you're doing, we hope you're staying safe to you and your family. We appreciate you. So, Mark, we haven't done this in a while, so we've had some great seasons in the past. We're gonna do some different things this season than we did in the past. We're going to do some nuances to what we do. I hope everybody liked our opening. If you have not seen it, watch it again. Check out open. Let me know if you like opening. We'll make some changes if we can. But of course, as always, feel free to post your comments. We will see your comments from Facebook and YouTube live in our chat, so we'll be able to answer your questions. But today we have a hot topic. But before we get to that, Mark, how are you and your family doing?
Doing good, man. I was laughing because, 3 years free of not getting sick. And that nasty thing finally hit me after 3 years. Thank God it was only a mild case. I'm like, what in the world? You do everything right. You wash your hands. You do this. You do that. It's like, bam. It's like, man, this can't be for real. But thank God I'm back to myself again.
Well, you joined the club. So you're in the COVID club now.
Yep. I'm a member, certified.
You're certified in COVID club. Bishop Brown, he hasn't in the club. He's been good all this time, but me and you were in the club. So we can wear our shirts. I survived COVID-19.
There you go. We get something printed up.
So it's all good. But we thank God for you and your safety and your security. But we're gonna have a little bit of difficult topic to talk about today. We're starting off a little bit more juicy than we normally do. Normally we have, and we will have on our premiere, we'll have our presider or our Bishop Saunders to come in. It's always great having him. We like having Prophet Hunt come in to give us some sort of energy for the prophecy for this coming year on us. And so we have a couple different things, and so we look forward to it. But we're going to ask everybody to join in, ask your questions if you want to. Because we think it's a great topic. Our topic is on this show is are we how did I put it, Mark? I forget how I put it. Are we
relating
right? Are we relating to the generations below us? So, Mark, I'm going to ask you this question. Are we relating to the generations below us? Are we reaching them? Are we, or is there really a wide gap like we talk about?
Well, I think it's like an individual thing, because I look at a lot of the young people at my church, and I'm able to relate with them. And again, I think it's an individual thing, and depends on who the person is. Because some of the generation to me don't even want to engage, but there's some who are willing to engage with the older ones. So I look at it as a person by person type of thing. But if you look at the society in which we're in now, which we have what is called with the Generation Z, I think the Generation Z is a challenge all by itself because they're more of a what is it, a social issue. They want equality and everything. And so I think that's where the generation gap is starting to really happen with the Generation Z.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see that, and I sometimes I get kind of lost in it because um I, let me put it this way. I don't know if I'm any closer or further from that generation
Mhm.
than the generations that were above me. Am I closer further from them? I think sometimes when we sit in the driver's seat, the perspective looks different. But how close was I to the generation that was before me in relating to them?
Mhm.
And so I don't know if I'm that much different. Now, again, like you said, it could be individual, but it could be the fact that maybe we're looking at it in from the wrong lens. And
Okay.
maybe that's what I would ask everybody to think about or to comment on. Are we looking at this generational gap from the wrong lens? Because I hear a lot, and I hope there's some young folks on here. I know there was some young folks on our Bible class. And everybody, again, thank you for joining for our new time. It's going to be Sunday at 7:15 instead of Mondays, so we can just go right towards Sunday nights uh, with each other. But is it is it really? I hope the young people are on here so they can talk to us. But is it really? Are we looking through the right microscope? Are we looking through it, Mark? Are we looking through the right microscope to devise or divide or deliver what we think is different?
And see, that's a good question right there because again, I'm in the baby boom generation, so I'm in that grouping. So what you said earlier is so true about the generation before us, the age gap between there and look at us, and then you got the generation behind us, and then there's another generation after them. So it's a huge pendulum swing if you look at it. So that's a good question right there.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, how close were you to people that weren't in your family, your grandparents' age?
Mhm.
How were you relate? Did you go up to them and talk? Did you have conversations? Maybe you did. Maybe you had great
We did.
conversations.
Well, see, and that's a different because if you look at the dynamics then, back then, at least when I was growing up, when my parents made sure we always went to you basically you had to go. You had no choice. You had to go to your relative's house, and
Right.
you went to your relative's house. You had older cousins, and so you had no choice but to engage with them. So it wasn't like you could stay home. You had to go with them, and so you got to know your aunts and uncles at a different perspective, as well as your cousins who may be older. So I think it's our time of growing up is different from what we have now. So I think our generation, to me, I think was closer to the older generation versus what we see this now. That's just how I look at it.
Yeah, yeah. So, but again, let's look. I want to look outside your family because family's one thing, right? I think every generation, when it comes to family, there's never an issue. It's
Mhm.
normally those folks that are outside your family, right? The,
Okay.
the
Okay.
the young men or women who come to our church who aren't our relatives, and or the at work who aren't our relatives. Or when we're on the job, there is this defined gap that we talk about that I don't know if it's really there, right?
Mhm.
Because sometimes I think that it is something that we had when we were their age with people our age. I
Right.
remember specifically if it wasn't somebody in my family or in my church per
Mhm.
se, I didn't have deep conversations with them. They didn't grab me up and say, Brother Rupert, sit down with me and talk to me. I was polite. I was cordial. If we went to their house because Bishop was invited or mother was invited for dinner, we went there because, like you said, we were dragged there. We had to go. We
Right.
were cordial. If they had young people our age, we were friends. But I don't know if I had that deep relationship that maybe we're talking about. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe we're talking about to have today. Um, And again, I was a little bit different because my daddy was my pastor.
Okay.
So maybe
Okay.
spiritually, he was motivated to move me in a direction because he was my dad, versus somebody who's looking to be moved today outside of their family.
Okay.
How was their pastor reacting and moving them? Right.
Right.
That's a thought. And before you get to your next point, I got to put this up here. Yes, Simon, I'm hurting because the game is on right now. Yes, the Dallas Cowboys are playing. I don't know what the score is. I'm not going to look. I'm praying that God will handle it. Amen. Amen. but
there's always one. There's always one. You know,
always. You have to say, you know, I was going to say something, especially because man, you lost today too, so he's happy about that too. He's working on.
We won't talk about that one. That was hurtful.
So, what are your thoughts on? I mean, what are your thoughts? Were you close to your non-relative older generation?
I was, and you know, because growing up in the neighborhood that I was in, you know, back then, of course, you would address somebody by Mr. or Mrs. So that was like a given. That was a type of thing of respect. And so it made you closer to a lot of people that you grew up in your neighborhood with. You know, they looked out after you. You had respect for them. They had respect for you. And again, to me, it's like an individual thing because some people just don't even want to try to connect. Some people don't want to engage at all. And so I think that's the challenge we have right now is trying to engage with those who don't want to be engaged, if that's a good phrase to put it, a way to put it. But it is a challenge right now because you look at this generation that's coming up behind us. It's the, you know, iPad generation, you know, it's the earbud generation. And a lot of times they will tune you out in a minute if you're not saying anything they want to hear. So you get a brick wall. You know, I was asking my daughter, you know, a question like, you know,
who's on the line, by the way? Who's
she?
Watching?
Okay.
She's surely watching her daddy. I know.
Right.
I know. You know, young Brody. She's watching her daddy.
Right. So she gave an interesting question. So she should try to type it in the chat. So hopefully she'll do it later because I don't want to steal her thunder. But you know what she was saying was the whole thing about listening. You know, listening to what the younger generation has to say.
Amen. That's a big point, right? But aren't we listening? But I'll let them ask the question because there is a couple very respected young people that I did see that are on here. I saw your daughter. I respect her highly. Brother Edie, I respect him highly. So hopefully they throw their points in, their thoughts in the chat, and we can bring them and discuss them because these are generations below us that I highly respect, and their opinion means something. I value their opinions. So hopefully they do ask that. We do have this thought from Pastor Pauline Moss, one of our Mission is Possible hosts. Back then, family was very important. Not now, not so much, except on special occasions. What do you think about that?
That is a true statement. That is a true statement because it's sad to say a lot of times you don't see your family except for the weddings and funerals.
Wow.
Weddings or funerals, and that's the sad thing about it. So I agree with that statement.
Amen. And I kind of do too. Not as I don't think it's as bad. I think they're and again, these are we're generalizing, right? We're not saying everybody. We're generalizing. The general aspect of things. Yeah, I sort of agree. You know, we have given space to our children, the space we did not actually get. You talked about it. You were dragged to certain things. I'm the same way. I was the same way. I was dragged to certain things. I had to go to certain things and go certain places. There are more opportunities for us. We ask kids a lot now if they want to go. Do they want to attend? You know, or if they go, oh, we're not going to. We leave when they're ready to leave, which is incredible to me.
Right.
That is something that I don't understand at all. That we leave when they're ready to leave. I remember growing up, if I fell asleep in that place, you fell asleep in that place. There was no other thing about that. So yeah, there's that question. So yeah, so family is important. But what else do we have to? What else?
I wanted to read what Holly sent me earlier, since she didn't put it in the chat. She said, "Communicate with us and have a real heart-to-heart. Anger may drive the youth away. So truly express your reasons for doing and saying certain things. Simply saying because I said so won't always work nowadays, be willing to listen to us.
So that is one of the big things that I always hear, right? Be willing to listen to us. And I wonder, this is what I wonder though. And I asked this question, we had this issue, or when we had a thing at in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I'm willing to listen to you, but are you willing to listen to me?
See, there you go.
I don't have a problem sitting down and talking with you and having heart. And again, this is not all the generations below us, because a lot of these young people will listen to you. They'll sit down, listen to you, they'll give their point, they'll talk. And that's why I appreciate them. I respect them for that. But there's a lot of them, like you said, they want to make their point. And now when you bring their point, your point, they don't have to like it, but they should listen, because it may help them.
Right.
What I've learned is a lot of things that I did not like when my parents told me, I do appreciate now, because I understand it better that I'm older. I understand now that I have a family. I understand now that I'm pastoring. Right. There were things I did not understand what my dad would say to me as I was a youth president. Right. I didn't understand what he's saying. I was like, why would he say that? Why is he giving me this? But now I understand it from his perspective as a pastor working with youth presidents. This is what I expect. So I agree we have to listen. But I also ask the question, are you willing to listen? Right? That's right. That's what I think. I mean, throw your thoughts out. That's your daughter. And so obviously she's saying, Daddy, you should listen to me. Oh, no.
Okay. Okay. She just put something in the chat there.
Oh, okay. So speaking as a high school teacher, this generation needs more communication these days. My students are more willing to listen, yes, when we approach them with a calm tone. Amen. So you're telling me this whole generation is so sensitive that we cannot talk to them in a harsh tone. I don't believe that, because they don't talk to each other in harsh, in soft, calm tones. When they talk to each other, they go at it. Just like
they go at it.
They go at it. You hear them, and they will laugh and go at it. So it's not the tone. I understand what you're saying, Miss Holly, but I want to say it's not the tone, because if it was the tone, they would be upset with each other. You know, when tone comes into play, what is a confrontation? When they're already combative. If you see two of them say, watch your mouth, man. It's all because they're combative. So what I'm hearing from Holly is that as I approach them, they're already taking a combative stance, that if my tone gets out of line, they're going to regress. And that's not conducive to listening to me. Sometimes my tone will get up because I'm excited. Or I feel that you can have a discussion and we can raise our voice, but still leave at the end of the day friends. And I think part of that is understanding, but I also think a part of that is not being so sensitive to what's going on, because obviously they're trying to help you. I mean, throw your thoughts out there, man. I'm the
No, I agree with that, because a lot of times, you know, this whole tone thing, because if you raise your voice nowadays at a younger person, they think you got an attitude with them. That's not the case. It's not the case at all. And so I think they need to get beyond that whole tone thing and see what's really going on. And, the whole thing about, trying to understand, their interest. I get that. If you're interested in me, then maybe I'll be more interested in you. But, it's a two-way street. So, but this whole tone thing, nah. I disagree.
I think that they're sensitive. I think that, and I should say, I don't think the generation is sensitive. I think it's an excuse that is used for conversation, because they're combative. I've seen two of the same generation talk, and tone is not an issue. They did what we do. They mock each other. They make fun of each other. They do these things, and tone changes, but because they're friends, nothing happens. I only see tone being an issue, again, like I said, when there is a combative thing. Now, like you said, though, my approach has to be one with the right physical approach, right? Because I do smile, I do laugh, I do let them know that I hear them by looking them in the eyes. I do
Right.
a lot of things that I was taught. This again, because I was taught a certain way, there's certain things that I do. I'm wondering if maybe they weren't taught the same way we might have been taught how to look somebody in the eye. Because when you turn your head, when you look down, when you look away, that's a sign I was taught of disrespect, right?
Well, do you think that's a reflection upon, I don't want to say, well, you think it's a reflection upon our generation because we're the ones who now have those children? Do you think it's a reflection upon our generation not teaching them what you just talked about?
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, I do.
Okay. See, that's where the problem starts right there, because our generation, the baby boomers, what have you, have missed the mark. We felt by the wayside. Some of us.
I do. I just do. I think that, and I include myself in there. I remember waking up on a Sunday morning knowing it was church morning. It wasn't maybe. It was church, right? My kids wake up and I don't know if they know it's church on Sunday.
Okay.
It's like
Okay.
so it's, I think that we've done a lot to marginalize some of the. I see Bishop Brown. I wonder if he's going to come in. I see Bishop Brown.
He's
No, he's
waving.
saying
No,
no,
he's
he's
not
not going to
coming
come
in.
in. No, I don't want to come in. I don't want to come in. He must. Maybe he doesn't want to come in right now. So, but I wonder if we did do that. We made our kids more sensitive.
Yeah.
Growing up, I know it sounds stupid, but our parents didn't beat us because they were mad at us. They beat us because we did something wrong. And they let you know you did something wrong. And there was no DIFUS. There was no, I'm calling 911. Like, call 911.
Right.
There was none of that going on. Where
Right.
kids today, they'll threaten to call DIFUS on you.
Exactly.
You touch me, I'm going to call DIFUS. What?
But it's just, I'm laughing because I probably get in trouble making a statement because, like growing up, we played with like Tonka trucks, Tonka cars, the metal stuff. Now they're taking that stuff off the market because they're saying it's not safe.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on. Growing up, we used to play flag football in the street.
Yeah.
Blacktop. Nowadays, they can't even do that. They want to play in the grass because they want to hurt themselves.
They want to play in the grass.
Right.
They want to play in the grass, Mark. They want to, let's go outside.
Right.
What's outside? There's bugs outside.
There's bugs outside.
Little boys talk about there's bugs outside. I'm like,
right. I want to play with my iPad.
Yeah. I'm we can't. Okay, so Holly,
we're gonna get in trouble.
I guess you should clarify that the population I work with operates a bit differently. Yes, because I think she works with some special needs kids in that case. Have more sensitivity with my students because of their emotional challenges. Yes. So that's a little bit different. They come from an environment where, again, they became sensitive because of their environment. I'm talking about everyday kids. They're still sensitive, and it's different. It really is different. But I thank you for your service too. So that's, there's that. So there was this. So back to these kids that we talk about, right? So one, I think they're more sensitive. Right. And two, I guess we are to blame for that. But number three is how do we approach and really change this gap? How do we change if there is a gap there, which I don't think there is. I think it's the same space between us and them as it was between us and our generations before us. But it's just different. We were different. We weren't as sensitive. We were outside kids. We understood certain things that were said to us meant something. Right? Don't come back in here dirty. Don't come back in here with your church clothes dirty. Change your church clothes to your play clothes. Today, there is no such thing as church clothes and play clothes. Normally, they just have their clothes. and we understood those things because that's how we were grown up.
Right.
So, and I don't know if it's, well, let me ask this question. Do you think that our kids are more privileged maybe than we
Oh
were?
yes. Oh yes. Because if you look at what we had to endure, the kids today, man, they get everything. I won't say on a silver spoon, but majority of them do. They don't have to want for anything because, again, we have either sheltered them, we become helicopter parents, or become this, become that, and so our kids don't know what it means sometimes to be without.
Let me throw this out to those those folks under 35, those folks under 40. Those are under 35. Let's do 35. That's the generation. So those folks under 35, do you think, if you can just put in the chat, whatever you want, if you're listening, do you think that you have privileges that maybe my generation did not have? I tend to agree with you, Mark. I think that they are privileged. And it's funny because they will tell you that they're not, because of the struggles that they have. I don't know. Most of them, I had to. I got rides. There was what we called carpooling.
Okay.
Carpooling was a thing with sports, right?
Right.
This week, your parents took everybody. Next week, somebody else's parents.
Been there, done that. Yes.
It's carpooling.
Right.
Today, if you say to a child, "Hey, call so forth and ask them to pick you up," oh no, you take me. What? There is no carpooling.
No.
I don't understand it. You have a friend. They're your friend. They're
Call
your
them.
parents. Just ask them to give you a ride because they're going to the same place you're going.
Right.
Oh no. No.
Well, it's funny you say that because I had that conversation with my son who's not online tonight, so I can talk about him. With him playing, soccer. I was like, call somebody. They can give you a ride. You're going to the same place. So, I got you. I hear you on that, man.
It is so privilege to me. Your daughter's coming in hot.
Uh-oh.
Disclaimer. I was not spoiled. See? I was definitely told no. See, they take no as being spoiled or not. If you say no to me, that's spoiled. No does not mean you're spoiled or not spoiled.
Right.
No,
and we'll have a conversation later, Holly, offline.
but no just means no, not this. But how many yeses did you get?
Absolutely. Right? Come on.
That's the
Make it plain. That's it. How many yeses did you get?
How many yeses did you get? How many times you inconvenienced your parent or your aunt or your uncle or your older cousin? How many times did you inconvenience your grandparents because you wanted something and they went out the way to give it to you? Where back in my day, if they didn't want to give it to you, they just said no, and that was it. You were out of luck.
No questions asked. Right. No questions asked.
Yeah, no questions asked. You just had to, you walk inside. Can I have a drink? Can I have some milk? No. Okay, you turned around and went outside. You didn't say, well, I can have some milk. You didn't get to those. There was no questioning.
Mm-mm.
Right.
I was sharing with my with my wife, and I said, growing up, my parents like, you want to go to college? You're gonna pay for it yourself. So they wouldn't pay for it. I had to pay for it myself. So that's how it was, man.
Man, look, if my parents probably if my parents were super rich, they might have paid it. But in their mind, if I was going to value it, I had to come with the funds.
Yeah.
With my car, they did help me with my car because I was in school. They said, if you can buy it, I'm sorry?
You were privileged. That's good. Okay. I had to buy my own on that one too.
They said, if you can buy it, we'll pay the insurance. You got to pay for it, but we'll put you on our insurance and we'll pay for your insurance.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, cool. Now I had to pay for my schooling. I had a whole bunch of student loans to pay when I got out.
Okay.
I did have my car. They did help me pay for it. But once I got out of school, had a job, oh no, I had to know that your share of the insurance is there was no 21 out of college, 21, that was it. Everything stopped. But again, it's a different time. I understood it.
Yeah.
I helped my parents. I lived at home. They didn't charge me rent, but I felt like I should pay something towards the house because now I'm grown and working. Today's kids, they're grown and working, and they want to save. Oh, I'm saving up for. I'm saving up for. You just went on vacation. What do you mean you're saving up for? I just saw you go to. So what do you mean you're saving up for? Now some of them do, but that it was different from what we had, right? We didn't have that.
Right.
We had to find a place. Some kids I know, when they were 21,
right,
they were kicked out.
That's a true statement. That doesn't happen today.
No.
And it's interesting you say that because sometimes they'll leave and they come right back home.
Oh yeah. Oh, I got it right here. Got it right here. At 20, one left. Said I'm doing this. 19, the other one said, you know what? I have stepkids. I'm gonna live with my dad. Okay. Both of them now. I see him here all the time, eating my food. I see it all the time. Okay. All right. She's back.
Uh-oh.
Oh, she goes, I love them. I bought my own car. I have my own insurance too. I've made my payments on my own, and I'm almost done. Praise God. Where's she living, Mark?
She's still at home.
That's why she can do all that. Holly, don't come at me with this stuff. The reason why she can buy her car, pay for insurance, make her own payments, it's because you don't have to pay for rent. Miss Holly, this is what I'm talking about with this. This is why, and there is no generation gap.
No.
There's no generation gap, right? This is pretty much just us having a different thought. So wait, it's okay, we love you. All right. And Holly came back. But I'm my personal household expenses. Oh, she does. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
She does?
Yes, she does. She does.
Does she pay does she pay mortgage?
No, but she does other things.
Good.
Yeah.
Buy food?
Yes, she does that.
Very good.
When it's not vegan.
I was gonna say the only vegan food, right? That's all she buys is vegan food. So she buys what you want. I think she buys here because I have a daughter like that too. She buys her stuff that she likes. Do you want some of this? No. No, I don't. Why? You know I don't want this.
But I have another question. But why do you think that generation behind us is always so angry? I mean, there's like a lot of anger with them. And I look at them, if I'm driving to work, the high schoolers, if they're going to catch the bus, they're taking their own sweet time going across the street, holding up traffic. They're dancing or whatever. It's like, get across the street. You don't have all day. But to them, it's like, it's all about me. It's all about me. And you try to talk to some of them, there's like this real anger coming back from them. And I'm trying to understand that myself. Why are they so angry?
I think because we think that they're inferior. I think they're trying to prove something. This is just me. I think they want to try to prove something to our generation or to us or to the older people.
Okay.
Because they're important. They have knowledge and they do. And again, I don't think gifts belong to an age group. I don't think intelligence belongs to an age group. I think that you can be young like many great entrepreneurs are and do great things in society because you are intelligent, you are smart. You don't need my approval to be smart, but you also don't have to challenge me to be smart.
Okay.
I have a job. I've been in a job for 15 years. You get into that job, you might be smarter than me, but you don't have my experiences. And no matter what, your smarts are not going to do out my experience. And I can do sports all day long.
Right.
The rookies who come into the league now are very talented, very good. I
True.
look at John Morant, who comes in very good.
True.
Great player. Awesome. The team is moving forward. But guess what, John Morant? You don't have a right to talk about anybody on Golden State because Golden State has 4 championships. They have the experience. And regardless of how talented you or your team thinks that they are, last year proved that their experience will outdo your youth and your talent because of experience. Because when it comes clutch time, they're going to know exactly how their teammates are going to react already. You don't. Now, you will gain experience, and guess what? You'll be in those shoes one day where you're looking at somebody saying, you're smart, but I have experience. I think that's where maybe the misconception is, especially in the church.
Okay.
I don't think, and I'm talking a lot, Mark, so you got to jump in. I don't think that you can't preach. I don't think that you're not anointed. I don't think you're not this or that. But I'm not done yet. God still has me in a position where I can still do what I need to do.
Right.
What I would prefer is you put yourself in a position where I can call on you when I need you and you make yourself available to be in that position. Instead of trying to say, you don't see me, make yourself visible. That's how you do it. And how do you make yourself visible? Well, you know what? When So Forth is doing something or going somewhere, don't not go.
Right. Right.
Go with them. Volunteer to drive them. I talked this, but my dad was my pastor. But if he went somewhere, I drove him. I need to speak. If he went somewhere, I drove him. Because you know why? Because if it was an hour drive, guess what? I had 2 hours of my dad and his ear and his knowledge and his experience came into me.
You said something was so key earlier about being visible. A lot of them today think they're invisible because they feel people don't see them. And that's when I made the statement earlier about making sure we are engaging with them. I mean, again, there's like a group of young people at my church. I make sure, I greet them in the morning. They greet me. They give me a hug. It's all about making sure I see them. You are important to the body of Christ. You may not have, elder, minister, blah, blah, behind your name, but you are still important. And if you can allow them, let them know that they are important and they see you. There's this little guy at church. He's such a cute little fella. And he often says he wants to be like me and Simon because he sees what we do at church. He always wants to, he wants to try to emulate us. And the thing about it is that speaks volume because younger people watch you. They see what you do. They see how you act. And if you show them the love and respect, they in turn will show that love and respect back to you. But again, it's all about engaging with them, making sure you see them and making sure they are available. Because when you said that earlier, make sure you're being visible. A lot of times I think the older generation, the whole thing, what is it? Seen but not heard.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people still have that mentality. We need to erase that. We need to erase that and make sure we see them and hear them.
Yes. I think it's important for us that they make themselves visible and we see they're making themselves visible. I think it's important for me to see that you are making yourself visible. Unfortunately, I've dealt with people on the opposite end. Okay. I've dealt with young people who didn't make themselves visible to me. They made themselves visible to others, but didn't make themselves visible to me. And the issue that I had there was, well, I'm hearing what people are saying, but I'm not seeing it.
Okay.
So I give you an opportunity, and then at the first moment where you don't agree with me, you now leave or you talk bad about me. That's where my issue is.
Right.
I gave you an opportunity, even though I did not see it for myself because somebody else said, this is who they are. I said, okay, give an opportunity. But as soon as then when I challenge them, the other person can challenge them. There's no issue. Okay. But as soon as I challenge them, now there's an issue. This is where I get frustrated because I don't challenge you because I want you to fail. I challenge you because I want you to succeed.
Exactly.
And I see you failing.
Right.
Or leading to failure.
Right.
And because I have experience, I tell you what I know, and I ask you to do these things.
Right.
You don't have to do them.
Mm-hmm.
But what you should do is you should acknowledge that you received it and then go forward.
Mm-hmm.
The conversation that we have to have, and we have to be totally legit. You do exactly what I do. I greet everybody, young and old. I don't care. I greet everybody. Doesn't make a difference to me. It's my job. I'm pastor. I got to greet everybody. So I do.
Right.
This is the way it is. But when you see me at convocation, right? Do I ignore anybody? No. Some people I don't know. I know people now that I didn't know just because I involved myself.
See, that's it right there. There it is.
Yeah, I involved myself.
Right.
But because I involved myself, now I'm looking for that return involvement.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I see it from some. I'm like, okay, yeah. I gave you me. Now, will you give me you?
Right.
When I walk by and I may not see you, do you call my name?
Right.
Pastor Rupert. Oh, hey, what's going on?
Yep.
What happens a lot of times, I walk by, and instead of you saying, Pastor Rupert, you say, oh, he ignored me.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And that's where we have an issue, because Rupert didn't ignore you. Rupert was walking. He just didn't see you. If you call Rupert, Rupert turns and he will now acknowledge you.
Right.
And I think both young and old, we have to learn that, because it happened to young people. Ever walk by an older person? Oh, I said disrespectful. They didn't say hi. No. They're busy too.
Right.
So we have to get our right answers. That's all I'm saying. The gap's not that big. Is that we have created a major issue in that gap.
Yeah.
Because we don't do the little simple things that will make life much beautifuler.
Well, you said something key there, because I know it was a young guy at church who walked by one time. That said, what's wrong with you? He goes, oh, I'm sorry. Because their mind was so preoccupied that they can just, and so that way you have to look at it. It wasn't intentional. Sometimes your mind can be so preoccupied that you can actually just walk right past somebody and not acknowledge them. Yeah. But you got to charge it to what is to the head, not to the heart, because I know that person is not like that.
Yeah. The truth of the matter is, what I say, Mark, is if they walk by me and they are like that, I say, hey, what's going on? Yeah. How are you?
Yeah.
I'm okay. All right. Love you.
Right. And keep it moving.
I put more pressure on them.
Right.
I put more pressure on them.
Right.
Because I want them to know I see you. And we as adults and the next generation below us, we have to learn that, hey, like you said, it's not the heart, it's the head. It's just life. Right. Sometimes. And if we stop saying the negative and look at the positive of each other, I think that's how we're going to gain how we're going to progress. Right. I don't think it really is in the conversation. I don't think it's in the knowing each other's language. I think it's in me just being able to love you and not judge you based on action, but judge you based on how I act with you. That's me. So I prefer that. Okay.
So I was trying to understand Ken's question. So is he saying, do they want to be, or says, what do the young people want to be? The next elders, deacons, ministers, or pastors?
He's asking a question. So Mark, what do you think is their desire? Do you think they desire to be an elder, a deacon, a minister, a pastor, a prophet, an apostle, just spiritual? What do you think?
Well, I think it depends on what they see. Let me back that up. Depends on God's calling in their life. So if God's calling in their life is to go that route, then I say yes. And of course, if it's not their calling, then don't do it. Don't do it.
Do you think that do you think they're in tune with their calling?
Well, they're aspiring to be the next elder, deacon, then I think they are. Don't just do it because you see other people doing it and think it's a glamorous thing, because we know, all of us who are in ministry realize those roles are not glamorous roles. They are heavy roles, and we don't take them for granted, because that is a mandate God has placed on our lives. So we got to make sure we're fulfilling it to the highest. I mean, it's because your pastor said, I want you to be a deacon. Don't just say yes. if God didn't say for you to be a deacon, then don't do it. But a lot of times, we grew up in the era when we got those drill sergeant pastors, they make you what you are, and you didn't want to be it. So you got to remember, if it's not your calling, then don't go for it.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate. You should already be doing the office of before I even call you to it.
Right.
You should be in the office of doing what deacons do before I call you. You should be in the office of doing what ministers should do before I call you, and so forth and so on.
Exactly.
Before I became a pastor, I should have been pastoring in some form or manner.
Mm-hmm.
Pastoring, leadership as a whole, it's not fun. In some churches, it may be because they're so big that you can just slip and slide and fly through. But for most churches, leadership is not a fun attribute. Mm-hmm. It is not something that you should take lightly, because people's lives are at stake.
Well, that brings about another point then, talking about the generation behind us. I mean, how do they view the church today? I mean, in their eyes, is the church antiquated? I mean, do they think what's going on today is not relevant? I mean, I even heard some people say the reason why their child stopped coming to church because they believe it doesn't take all of that. But they grew up in this, but now they feel like it doesn't take all of that to be saved. So it's like the whole mindset of church mentality has changed in the generation behind us. There's really no commitment. There's no accountability. There's no the willingness to do. It's almost like you're pulling teeth to have them do something. So that whole mindset has really changed.
Yeah, I think you're hitting on a point, right? That I wish there was more youth on this, and maybe they might come back later, different times, and say, "Pastor, I have another show on this," because I have some questions. But hopefully they do, because I think that's a great point, is how they view church, how they view the relevance of church. One of the things that I totally agree with you on when they say they don't take all this. First of all, that's not biblical. It does it either, regardless. But I spoke to, and I even asked the question to some folks. I'm trying to get some answers. Are we speaking the right language?
Wow.
Because okay. I think that we're not speaking the spiritual language of God. We're speaking the language of man. So man has really created a church or dynamic that makes church look like it doesn't take all that. Right? Man has created a dynamic that they forget that when Jesus taught, this is Jesus, this is not Rupert. When right. Jesus taught, they were there with him so long that he was afraid they would pass out on their way home for lack of food.
Right.
I want to think about that. They were there with him days, listening to this man preach and speak for days before they would leave him. And he was afraid that they would pass out. So he had to say, "Do we have any bread?"
Right.
And he had to create miracles to feed the 4,000, to feed the 5,000, because they were there so long. But yet today, we want to have this encounter with God one day in the week.
One day.
Encounter with God, and put a limit on the time because of what? Because of what I want to do. And I think we're not speaking the right language. And that's why we have this generation that says it doesn't take all that. And all of them don't do that. But and trust me, there are some in our generation that say the same thing.
You're right. It
doesn't take all that. So it's incredible. Now we've got about 10 minutes. We got about 10 minutes, everybody. So if you have any questions, please write your questions in the comments. We love to have more questions or your thoughts, so we can discuss your thoughts. This is really something that is a powerful topic. We did it this show. We could have did it, when we were after our premiere. We'll probably may redo it, because I'm sure Bishop Brown has his thoughts. He doesn't want to come on, but I know he's salivating. I know that he's writing notes.
Yes.
And he has thoughts ready to empower us.
We'll hear about it afterwards. Yes.
With God right now.
That's right. That's right. Because he's on the mountaintop right now. He's just like Moses. He's gonna come down and impart into us after bring his tablets.
Yes, yes, because I know that I'm surprised he hasn't asked the question even. He is keeping silent. So
Right.
you know this is
I'm
going to
nervous
be
about that one, man.
I am. It's going to
I'm
be
nervous.
dangerous when he comes in. Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. So
But do you think a lot of it really boils down to relationship?
so whose relationship? Our relationship with them, or our
Both.
both our relationship with God?
Both. Our relationship with them and their relationship with us. Because you and I, we have an excellent relationship. So if we don't have that same relationship with the younger generation, then it's not effective in the essence of understanding how they feel, what they see, and where they're going, because we don't have that relationship. So that's why I think a lot of the disconnect comes, because there's no relationship there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, Mark. I think relationship is important between each other, but I think the difference is, excuse me, with me and you, we know we have families. We know we don't live by each other.
Right.
So we know that when we see each other, we appreciate the time. We'll go out to we'll go out to lunch or to dinner with each other or with our families, and we like the time because we don't get a chance to do that. So it's a little bit different. But we also understand that if I don't talk to you, it's not because I don't like you.
Right.
Right. It's not because I don't like you. It's because we just don't have that time. I don't know if kids think that way. I think we have to wonder if the generation below, I should call them kids, if the generations below us think that way, because maybe they think that because I don't try to reach them, maybe I don't like them, or maybe I don't want to reach them. And that's not always it. Life brings busyness, but maybe if you reach them, you're available. You're available. So we'll see. This is Simon. My advantage is when my family gets together, I learn a lot about generations. Just listening to my 3 different age children and my grandchildren. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's true, because you do get to listen to them, but again, that's family. And it's tough because with family, it's a different thing. Because Uncle Rupert is loved. Uncle Rupert's appreciated, whether they see me or not. They know Uncle Rupert loves them, because why? I'm Uncle Rupert.
Uncle Rupert.
Right? They know I love them. So it's there's if I text them and say happy birthday, they're happy. But does that work the same way with not Uncle Rupert, but Pastor Rupert or Mr. Rupert? Is it the same with that generation? Will they do the same thing? These kids are talking and enjoying themselves, and like Simon said, he's listening. Does not mean they're talking to him.
Right.
That means they're talking amongst each other, and Simon is in there listening. Maybe now Simon may jump into the conversation, but it didn't start with him. How many times did the conversation start with, "Hey, Uncle Simon, I got a question for you"?
Right. Right.
That would show me really where that person is. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I'm going to church. We got a lot of stuff going on right now. Let's see. This is from Bishop Brown. I love you both very much. That's from Bishop Brown. He wrote, "I love you both very much." Yes, he's coming for us. He's coming.
Oh yeah, because after this, we're going to hear more about that.
He's coming for us. I agree, Uncle Simon. Good question. Besides your family, how connected are you with all? See, this is what I was saying.
Yeah,
right.
I agree with that.
Simon's like you. He's very connected with the young people in his church. But again, the question I have is not how many times have I gone to just them. How many times have they come to me? Right. I have a couple young people who will come to me, and I wish to God all my young people came to me and asked me certain questions.
Well, could it be because they know you're? Could it be because you're in a leadership authority like that? They've kind of feel intimidated to come to you.
I think it's because I was 6'2", all these muscles. No, just joking. I think it could have been. I think it could be because. Well, you know what? People don't realize, because I'm one way when I'm in the pulpit, right? And I'm a different way when I'm outside the pulpit. When you're in my office, it's different from when I'm in the pulpit. When I'm in the pulpit, right. I've got it. I'm on job. This is my job. I'm focused. When I'm in the office, I'm relaxed. Now you talk to me. Now it's me talking to you. I'm going to talk to you as I would talk to any child of mine, any niece or nephew of mine. I'm going to talk to you in that way. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to give you good, sound reasoning.
Okay.
I'm not going to say I'm right, but I'm going to give you good, sound reasoning, and then you can do with it. Okay. But most of them didn't know that because they didn't come to the office. I had one young man. He played the drums for us back in the day. He came in my office one time, started talking to me. There's something he's opened up. He opened about girls, but all this stuff. And when he was done, he was like, I didn't know I could talk to you like this, man. I just told you everything. See? I said, yeah, most people don't, but it's no big deal. He's like, you're not going to tell my parents? I'm like, nah, this is between me and you. He said, Pastor, I'll be back next week. And he did. He came back next week.
That trust was there.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yep. We have so much. Okay, now time's running out. Why is the expectation from whom parents why is the expectation and from whom, parents or God? I don't know if you're talking about the expectation of the young people or the generation below us, or you're talking about expectation from us. Could you clarify, please? So I'm already, me personally, great connection with the youth. Mm-hmm. He said, thank you, sir. Cowboy fan. I don't know if that means we're losing. I don't want to talk about it, Simon. Do churches have a process for the young generation to connect to the older leadership? Yeah, it's called the pew.
Yes. Pretty much.
That's the process. There's a bench, sit down, say hi, and you can start to connect.
Right.
And I'm being 100% serious. Mm-hmm. The biggest problem is we don't use that pew effectively.
Right.
There's a reason why we sit next to each other. Mm-hmm. Because we're supposed to connect.
With you being a pastor, you deal with the younger generation. What do you say to parents who allow their children to just sit there on their electronic devices while service is going on?
Well, I'm as bad as the rest of them. I got a little one who will do that sometimes too. I try to let them know if they need to be part of what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So I will express as I'm in service, hey, everyone from the youngest to the oldest, I need you to this. Clap, gotcha. Stand, raise your hand, put your device down and pay attention to me. Because I think there are times when they need to hear. I do know some pastors who do not allow any of those things to be on in their church.
Wow.
Which is fine, right? Because now you have the full attention. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, when I was a kid, I slept in church a lot.
But look at you now.
But look at me now. So I don't think sometimes it's what we do, the activity in which they do. I think it's how we address them. I think, again, it's how we get them to know this part's important. No, I need you to stand during praise and worship. No, I need you to listen to when we're reading the Bible. No, I need you to listen to this part of my sermon. I think that's important. Kevin Ken said, leadership don't sit in the pew. Again, it's incorrect statement. Every minister, every titled elder, every titled pastor is not the owner of leadership in the church.
Right.
An individual are named brother or sister, and they are leaders. They're leaders in their own way. Matter of fact, you're a leader. When you sit in that pew, you can lead by being the person who says, good morning, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Shake their hand. I think that we're so concerned with leadership, pastors, elders, ministers, men's president, women's president, that we're the only ones who have to engage with them. I think that's not true.
Right.
Amen.
Are we good on time?
No, we're over time.
Okay.
We'll
do a three-way on that one later on, Simon. We'll do a three-way.
Yeah. So everybody, great conversation. We're over by 16 seconds, but great conversation. I probably could have kept going. It was just an awesome time. We thank you so much. Please, 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 please join us every Sunday, 7:15. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, tell the younger generation, tell the older generation. We are back.
Yes.
Bad Men for Christ. Mark, I'll give you the last and final words. Take us out of here. Bad Men for Christ. Join us.
See you soon. Be blessed.
I've got to get the closing.
Us again. To the A, to the D, to the M. So sing hallelujah, revive us again.